So as I mentioned in the last video about balancing chemical equations, we're going to be solving together a more complicated example to test if you know the concept really well or not. So let's get started with our equation. Now here we have a reaction that involves iron sulfate reacting with potassium hydroxide to give potassium sulfate plus iron hydroxide. Now this reaction, as we notice, involves metals and non-metals, and in the last video we mentioned we have to start balancing the metals first, then the non-metals, then lastly the oxygens and the hydrogens. Now let's start. Well, first we list our elements. So we have iron, we have potassium, we have sulfur, we have hydrogen, and finally oxygen. On the same side, the same thing: iron, potassium, sulfur, hydrogen, and oxygen. Now here we have 2 iron, we have 1 potassium, we have 1 sulfur, and you see, not 1 sulfur, sorry, that's a mistake. You see, this is often a mistake that students do. Here the 3 is distributed inside the bracket, so you have 3 sulfur, and here 1 hydrogen, and finally 12 oxygens plus 1 there, so 13 oxygens. Now on the other side we have 1 iron, 2 potassiums, 1 sulfur, and here the 3 distributes also, so we have 3 hydrogens, and finally 4 oxygens there, 3 here, so 7 oxygens. Now you see, none of these elements are balanced, so we start with our iron because it's a metal, so we balance iron first. So here we have a 2, here we have a 1, so we multiply this by 2. So this whole thing changes. Iron becomes 2. Now oxygen, here there is 6 oxygens plus 4. Now oxygen becomes a 10, and hydrogen becomes 6. Now let's see. Now the irons are balanced. Now let's move on to potassium. Well, potassium here is 1, here is 2, so we multiply this side by 2. So let's see how that changes everything. Now potassium becomes a 2, oxygen becomes, let's see, so 2 here, 12 here, so oxygen becomes 14. Now 2 hydrogens, and let's see, so now the irons are balanced. Now the potassiums are balanced. Now let's move on to sulfur. Well, let's see, we have 3 sulfur here and a 1 here, so it's easier to multiply here by 3. So let's see how that changes. Well, for starters, potassium becomes 6 and sulfur becomes 3. Now oxygen, that's 12 plus 6, that's 18. So oxygen becomes 18. And you think this is counterproductive because we just balanced the potassiums? Now we did this thing and it changes the whole thing? No, you don't have to think like that. It's not counterproductive. So bear with me, guys. So let's continue. So now our potassiums are not balanced. What do? Well, we go back. Now here we have a 6, here we have a 2. So let's multiply this by 3. So here multiply this by 3. So potassium becomes 6 and oxygens become 6 plus 12, that's 18. And finally the hydrogens become 6. So let's check, is our equation balanced or not? Now here is 2 and a 2, 6 and a 6, 3 and a 3, 6 and 6, 18 and 18. So you have your balanced chemical equation, and voila. So I know this was a bit messy and there's a lot of crossing out and rebalancing, and don't panic if you have balanced something and then you ruined it. Don't worry, eventually everything will fall in place. So if you're having trouble still, redo my video again, redo this example on your own, and hopefully by the second or third time you guys are gonna do it blindly and professionally. So good luck and thanks for watching.